a beautiful body. She has remained to date. She's a delight to everyone in the family, and we all dot on her. Our offshore vessel, MV Osariemen, was named after her. The Board of Stars Investment promptly approved a royalty of $500 monthly from the vessel. The Board of Stars Investment promptly approved a royalty of $500 monthly from when the vessel commenced operation in 2010. Stars Investment has had a ship built in Cape Town, South Africa. The vessel was commissioned by Baby Osariemen Stephanie, who was done in a beautiful Benin Asein. Stephanie attended the Montessori International School in Port Harcourt and was later admitted into CITA International College, where she is currently concluding her junior secondary school certification. At 13, she is growing into a responsible and matured girl, exuding extreme wisdom for her age. She loves dancing, just like Iro, Bethany, and me, and we are watching closely to see what her choice of career will be after leaving college. The first son, Christopher Osasu Ogbefu, grandchildren, daughter Iugama, daughter Bethany, last child Stephanie, Sayana. Some new cadets, ships in operations, and many things here. Section 5. Career and business. Career and business. Chapter 12. Early days in business. Are entrepreneurs born or made? Chapter 12. Career days in business. Are entrepreneurs born or made? I think the answer to that question lies somewhere in between. Certain traits are born. Certain traits are born with. Certain traits we are born with come to play when we decide to become entrepreneurs. And of course, there are many skills of entrepreneurs one can learn. At least, this has been my experience. From my story so far, you would have observed that I was not one of those kids who showed early signs of commercial or entrepreneurial ingenuity. A 5-year-old Inga couple on a farm in rural Sweden was riding his bike to a labor house selling matches. He would later build a car. A 6-year-old Warren Buffett sold packs of gum to his neighbor and negotiated hard with them. He would later become the richest man in the world. An 11-year-old Richard Branson breaks parakeets. Richard Branson bred parakeets and sold them as pets. He would later pioneer that incredible global brand in the Virgin. It was not anything like those great entrepreneurs. I was not anything like those great entrepreneurs, or even like the less great ones at those ages. I was just a kid from a poor family who became diligent as a student. I worked hard and dreamt of leveraging on education to get out of poverty. As I grew older, my vision was about getting jobs that would pay enough to give my family a good life I was not anything like those great entrepreneurs, or even like the less great ones at those ages. I was just a kid from a poor family who became diligent as a student, worked hard, and dreamt of leveraging on good education to get out of poverty. As I grew older, my vision was about getting jobs that would pay enough to give my family a good life. As a young lad, I never dreamt of owning a big business and becoming a successful entrepreneur. Once I learned about marine engineering. I wanted to become an excellent marine engineer and be well paid too. It is safe. It is safe to say I stumbled into business. It is safe to say I stumbled into business. Necessity pushed me into it. But as soon as I got into business, the synergy of habits, knowledge, experience, relationship, and character kicked in to give me good chances at succeeding. Let us just say that when the opportunity came, I was prepared, being detailed, preserving, visionary, and capable of building sound relationships became invaluable asset for me as I embark on my entrepreneurial journey. But as can be expected, there were a number of beyond my control factors. I played out well too. Time and chance, as the Bible describes it, being at the right place at the right time and meeting the right people helped a lot. Some will call that luck. I prefer to say divine guidance, and blessings. You will see all of these in the following pages. A business story I started from previous chapters that I am still writing, and hopefully we keep writing for years to come. In the beginning, when I started Stars in 1986, I only had a couple of plastic chairs, a bed in my house, a couple of plastic chairs, a bed in my house. I had sold everything else. I had sold everything else. The first morning, the business end. The first morning, the business end. The first morning, the business end went into the purchase of 2 seats and a dining table with 4 chairs. The dining table became my first office. Later on, as things progressed, I rented the flat opposite my house and set up an office there. With the permission of the landlord who lived nearby. With the permission of the landlord who lived nearby. It was the classic start small business. Many new entrepreneurs want to start big, but necessity usually forces them to be realistic. Take one step at a time. After that first check I received from ExxonMobil, remember I had described ExxonMobil Lifeline after Ocean in Cape sacked me. I cashed part of the money and began to do some technical interventions. And jobs that were marine related. If anyone wanted to buy a canoe, they consulted me. If they wanted a ship, they contacted me. In a way, I was a hustler during my early days in business. And you're wondering what to do. In a way, I was a hustler during my early days in business. Having a useful skill set proved invaluable. If you ever plan on going into a business and you are wondering what to do, a good place to start exploring could be your skill set. Never underestimate the things you know and do well. During that early period, Germanischer Lloyd, the German marine classification, contacted me to be their Nigerian representative, acting as their non-exclusive surveyor. It was an important breakthrough for me. My experience at Ocean in Cape had paid off. Germanischer Lloyd asked me to take care of 80% of their Nigerian job from Cameroon to Lagos. from Cameroon to Lagos. They invited me to Germany, where we negotiated and agreed on an hourly rate of 50 Dutch mark. So when they had any ship in Nigerian water, they could send me a teles to do the annual condition survey. It is important to note that from day one, I was set for my business in terms of compliance, tax, and statutory requirements by government agencies. I had an accountant friend to keep my book and a secretary, but the technical part was my baby. That was the area of my strength. Although small, I wanted to have a structure to be proud of. This preference and practice will later pay up in terms of helping to build a proper business capable of growth and expansion. It is always best to begin thinking and put a structure around a new business. First major deal. Before General Ibrahim Babangida became the military head of state, the General Muhammadu Buhari led military government to confiscate some of the ships involved in illegal bunkering in Nigeria. A ship, Panama, was one of them and was an Eastern Naval Command and moored in front of its post in Calabar. Then, in 1987, the Navy began to arrange to dispose of the ship because it was causing navigational hazard. Delta Steel Company, DSC, at Ophir Alajer was looking for scrap, and they got to know about the ship, which has got a lot of scrap content. They brought the ship and needed to move it from Calabar to Warri. Before then, I had served as a class surveyor for BSC-2 tugboats, Udu 1 and Udu 2. That experience had introduced me to them. They knew what I was capable of delivering. When I lost my job, I contacted them to let me know I had become a freelancer. It was only natural that they considered me an option when looking for who could help them move Israel, Panama. I did not know what the book entailed. I did not know what the book entailed. I did not know what the book entailed, but at that point in time, I did just about any hard job that came my way. An opportunity presented himself, and I was not about to let it pass. So I went to inspect the ship. It turns out that it was sitting in the mud. The foreigners who crewed the ship when he was arrested had removed the ship seaside verb. Therefore, its engine room was flooded with water. After my inspection, I sent in a report and affirmed that I could salvage the ship. They immediately asked for my quotation, so I went to Marine Base, Port Harcourt, where Chief Alfred Diety Spiff, first military governor of Old River State, 1967 to 1975, had a diving company whose staff were mostly Riverines, indigents, excellent divers. I got some divers, struck a deal with them, and headed to Calabar. At the location, they went into the river and found all the access points through which the water was getting into the ship. With that done, I was able to come up with quotations which came to 200,000. DSC approved it. So I mobilized a team from Port Harcourt and Calabar, and we hired some speedboats, salvage pumps, hose, and some other relevant materials, and took off from the beach with 4 divers. I also made sure that the necessary life-saving apparatus were taken along to ensure the safety of members of the squad in the event of any incident. The first thing we did was to send the divers into the river to plug all the holes found on the ship's hull, and then the big water pumps from Calabar were lowered into the engine room, and we began pumping the water out, discarding overboard via the hose. About 2 weeks, the ship was fully afloat. We were excited. The next challenge was how to tow the ship to Warri. I did not have a clue how I would get a suitable tugboat to do the tow. Unknown to me, the ship had also been a hazard to mobile ships that were coming in and going out of their operations base, adjacent to the Naval Eastern Command. Mobile base manager in Calabar at the time was a chap called Onoa Orji. Mr. Orji had been quietly monitoring what was going on. Eventually, I met him at a social event in Calabar. During our conversation, he asked whether I was the one doing the service job on the grounded Panama, and thanked me for the help I was rendering to his company unknowingly. So, I told him I needed a tugboat to tow the ship, and he agreed to get the top management of Mulberry to approve me of their tugboats if I was willing to pay for the fueling of the boat. I did the necessary paperwork, and Moby gave us a big tugboat owned by Zapata Marine. The risk in the towage was that anything could happen to the plug on the ship and sides during the voyage, and the ship could go down in the middle of the ocean. So I kept all the divers on board as we towed the boat. It took us 11 days to move it from Calabar to Warri. I spent a couple more weeks in Calabar, resting and enjoying their tasty, fresh fish restaurant. We had fun with my new friend, Onwa, and some friends I had made among some of the Navy boys. Then I returned to Calabar. I returned to Port Harcourt. What is important here is how things evolved from a very small, simple beginning. Businesses is more often like that. One thing led to another for me, and experience and knowledge came to bear, even when I was confronted with a project I have never attempted before. One must always be prepared. You just never know when opportunities will come, and when they do, grab them. Early business education. The D for DSC was significant. It opened my eyes to see business possibilities and made me alert to such opportunities. Meanwhile, I kept focusing on putting the right structure in place. After the first fruitious job I did for Mobe at Eket, I had invited the accountant who did the incorporation of stars, and told him that because I never dreamt of going into business, there were a lot of things I did not know. I told him that, nevertheless, I had decided to dive fully into business and wanted to take it up as a lifelong career. It is not just about making money, but about building something sustainable, I said to him. He seemed impressed with the way I was thinking and decided to start educating me about business and governance. One striking thing he said was that from the day one of making income, I should separate my money. That is, salary from company's money. He also said that if we earn 100 naira, for example, I should first deduct what it costs to earn that 100 naira. Sometimes, when calculating our expenses, we forget the cost of telephone calls, transportation, and other basic cost elements. We might even forget that we bought an equipment to do the job. He said, all expenses, even to the last airtime used to make calls, must be factored in. After that, the remaining might be just 13 naira out of 100 naira, meaning that 70 naira is not ours to spend. Surprisingly, he said that even the remaining 30 naira could not be entirely spent. At least the business is stagnated. 10 naira must be put back in the business with 70 naira to enable one to earn more than 100 naira. From the next business opportunity, I could only spend 20 naira. That made a lot of sense to me, though it was very tough because the entire 100 naira was not even enough to spend then. But I was determined to grow the business, so I stuck to it. Every time I did a service and got paid, I would put aside a lot more than the cost in case an opportunity came that would require some capital investment. The NNPC contract. In 1987, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC, advertised for the cleaning of a storage tank called MT Tuna, a big tanker. A big tanker. Okay, of about 250,000 tons. Anchored off Benin, NNPC had bought the tanker to use it as strategic storage for petroleum products. At the time, they had few storage facilities all over the country. The tanker was initially trading in crude, so it was necessary to clean it out and get it ready to store other products. I have been a tanker person all my professional lives, training and working with Shell Tanker UK, an Arab maritime petroleum company. AMPTC. So, I knew the process of tank cleaning very well because we did that regularly. I saw the advertisements and I applied, putting in a bid for the job. My bid was 958,000 naira. Other bids going after that tender were mainly foreign companies and they bidded in millions of naira. The procedure was that you had to pass the technical bid first before they look at your commercial bid. My technical bid was because of my knowledge of tankers and the industry. Instead of quoting the sophisticated equipment used for the tank cleaning, in Shell, I explored three options. I explored three options. I explored three options. I explored cheaper options. I talk about using men, shovels, wheelbarrow, buckets, and ropes to do the job. Ropes to do the job. After which we would use the ship water pumps to spray and wash the whole tank and strip out all the debris from the stripping pump of the ship. I also talked about gas freeing the tank. And using the oxygen analyzer and using the oxygen analyzer to check the tanks. After gas spraying, to ensure it was safe for people to use. And using oxygen analyzer to check the tank after gas spraying to ensure it was safe for people to enter. While the next lowest bidder was quoting about 3 million, there I was quoting 958,000. When the bidding analysis was finished, the recommendation to the then managing director of NNPC then, Mr. Arrett Adams of blessed memory, was that my technical bid made sense, but my commercial bid did not. Arrett Adams, in his wisdom, then decided to form a panel and invited all bidders to come and defend their bid, both technical and commercial. There were 4 companies, 3 of them foreign and mine. The panel section was held in the NNPC boardrooms. Each bidder was asked to describe their process, after which the panelists asked questions. What happened was that the other bidder could not answer all the questions. A number of times, their response was, "We will contact our head office and get back to you on this." This still happens a lot today. The people we see are experts. The people we see as experts are just errand guys. Their representation are rehearsed. They lack all the formation required to properly negotiate and convince potential clients that they deserve to be hired. But their tag as expatriates always makes the naive believe that these people are experts in their field until today. During that session, I carefully wrote down every question the other bidder could not answer. Of course, I was called last because they thought I did not know what I was using. Human being with gloves and sticks that will scrap everything cleanly. You can see why my cost makes sense. For me, it would be a pleasure to see a lot of Nigerians involved in this project. We'll be creating job opportunities for them. I did not know to wait till they told that I had gotten the job before getting excited. It was written all over my faces as they listened to me with rapt attention. Of course, but opportunities to grow. With my job for Delta Steel Company and the new contract with NNPC, my confidence grew rapidly. I began to see opportunities. Of course, there were not many people with my skills and training at that time. When we got to the contract to clean Tuma, I needed to buy a flyboat with which to move men, materials, and equipment from Port Harcourt to Boni. I hired 60 Nigerians, most of whom were from Boni, with a team of about 15 people from Port Harcourt. Then, I rented a hotel near the waterfront paid for 2 months and put the work there. We were about to do our catering. We were about to do our catering. We were about to do our catering. So my catering team would buy things to cook. For 2 months, we were on that job. I was organizing the whole thing from Port Harcourt and shuffling to Benin once a week. I had supervisors on ground, though we did not have GSM technology and phone for communication like we have now. So I brought 2 long-range, 2-way cellular radios, installed one in my small office in Port Harcourt and others in the hotel in Benin, where my team was quartered. With this, we could communicate daily. During that period, every time I went through the creeks to Benin, I noticed an abandoned tugboat in the creek. A couple of occasions, I told the boat driver to take me closer to it. I climbed in and looked around. The engine room and engine looked relatively new, but the boat was all corroded. Little did I know that the destiny of the boat and mine were intertwined. Chapter 13. My first empty 2-month jobs earned me a net profit of 250,000 naira, a second-hand car, which cost me 45,000 naira. All the while, I had been trekking, taking taxi, because I had sold everything, including my Mercedes. I wish young people would take note of this. I did not buy an expensive or brand new car. I did not buy land. Though my parents were pressurizing me to build a house in Benin, I told them I was not ready to build if they were not going to accommodate me. Whenever I was in Benin, I would lodge in a hotel. My first boat. All I knew was that I needed to invest. I woke up one morning and remembered the tugboat I used to see in my creek. I decided to find out who the owner was, so I could buy and renovate it, even though I was not sure what to do with the boat. I began to make inquiries. The NPA gave me the names of the owner, a Chief Mumuni, based in Lagos. He was one of the pioneers. He was one of the pioneers in the civil private security business in Nigeria. So, and this company was called Nigeria International Private Security.